If we don't test a dog, then we make decisions based on horrible things, like appearance, black dogs. Hard to adopt out black dogs. And so that's not a really good criteria, because there are some awfully nice black dogs. Breed or breed type. The dogs that tend to not get put up for adoption, who are, when you don't test, would be pit bulls, Rottweilers, chows, Cocker Spaniels, Shar-Peis, dogs like that. You just have a tendency to go, well, let's take the dangerous breeds out. And Cocker Spaniels can be pretty dangerous. Behavior in the run, Louis' behavior. 10 years ago, Louis' behavior would have meant that Louis would be out because we couldn't cope with that behavior. We didn't have as many pet pals as we have. We now have people who can take out the dogs on a regular basis over and over and over and over again. And pet pals are a double-edged sword. Pet pals are wonderful because they take out the animals, but sometimes they're not so wonderful because they get attached to an animal who's going to get pulled. That makes it difficult. And population problems. That's the biggest one. Population problems, that's why we have a pet partnership program, because of the population problems in other shelters. You have, 40 runs and you have 90 dogs. What are you going to do? It isn't, the stress level is so high that you're going to wreck all the dogs if you keep all of them. And some shelters actually do try to do that. The whole no-kill movement has caused some overpopulation problems because some shelters get full and they can't take any more animals, and their animals that are there are unadoptable, so they just stay there. So now you have a situation where the non-no-kill shelters have to take out the animals that would have gone to the other shelters. So you have population problems. And of course, the population problems abound in areas where the education level is low. So in Marin County, we don't have overpopulation problems because most of the people in Marin County are pretty educated. But down in the valley, they're not. And so you do have overpopulation problems. Okay, I'm going to skip over this part. All right, one of the biggest problems that we have is that people believe that all behavior is changeable. And of course, I'm a behaviorist. That's what I do. I change behavior, right? But I don't. If you're a human being and you smoke, and your wife or your husband has been telling you for years that they really want you to smoke, and you're done, just stop smoking, and your doctor's been saying stop smoking, and everybody at large is telling you please stop smoking, you still have to decide to stop smoking before you stop smoking. The only important person in this little thing is you, right? Because you're the one who has to stop smoking, stop drinking, go on a diet, whatever. Well, when you're asking a dog to do that, they don't make that decision. We're trying to make that decision for them. So if you give them the decision to do it, will they do it? Of course not. Their behavior is, they have acquired this behavior because it works. So in order to change behavior, you have to actually prove to the dog that another behavior works and works better. And that can be really difficult to do. If you've got a fear-aggressive dog and you're trying to change its behavior, and it's for 4 years, it's been going, no, the best way to get rid of another dog is to go, woo, 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 and the other dog runs away, then trying to say, well, actually, if you look this way, we take a treat. You don't have to do it. The dogs will sometimes go, woo, 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 give me a treat. And you will get that behavior. That absolutely does happen. So sometimes behavior is changeable, and sometimes it's not changeable. So much of it is instinct. So much of it is genes. There are some behaviors that are kind of interesting, like they're called fixed action patterns, where once the behavior starts, it can't stop. So if you watch two dogs playing and one dog suddenly gets up on top of another dog's neck, and that is a kill bite. The dog gets to right here, and all of a sudden they have to complete the behavior. They can't stop that. They can't stop. Now you can teach them to interrupt it, but you have to teach them to interrupt it before they actually get all the way into it. That's why it's fascinating. That's one of the reasons why it's fascinating. So you can change behavior if the behavior hasn't been present for too long. If it is not part of the dog's genetic makeup that has been reinforced. So they have a fearful dog and the fear aggression has been reinforced over a long period of time, you have a much less chance of actually, changing that behavior. Then there are just the things that animals are born with, that cause them to behave in a certain way, and they will never stop behaving that way. Yeah.
So in the case of that puppy being scared and then doing protective things, would you be able to say that was nature or because it was isolated?
Well, that's a lovely question. The question was, in the case of the puppy that I was talking about before, the little terrier puppy, right? That the behavior, the going out and snapping and striker behavior, was that nature, was that nurture? It probably was both. The dog is probably born with ADR, which is called, it's an active defense reflex. So the dog has a tendency to go out towards whatever the threat is. And it's a terrier, and most terriers have a pretty hot little temper. All right. Then on top of that, there's no socialization. So those two things can together cause a behavior to occur. Now whether that dog will end up in the future doing that, and no one can say. If I had to use a crystal ball right now and say whether that dog will be okay later, I will say no. I think the dog is going to go into somebody's home and is going to cause the person to have to seek my help. Perpetual employment opportunity, which is making fun of it, but it's really true that, someone's going to fall in love with the animal and then they're going to end up with it. And I think that there's always going to be that possibility of that behavior. So, yes?
What's the critical time frame from birth? So
There
this behavior can be stopped before it becomes.
The first socialization period ends at 6 weeks. The second one ends at 12 weeks. So in that first 6 weeks, you should be picking up the animal, moving the animal, having the animal be on different surfaces, all kinds of stuff. That's very important. That's a socialization to people. In that second period, you should be socializing to lots of different stimuli, including possibly other dogs, other animals, other types of people. And if you do that, then you stand a much better chance of having a well-rounded dog. And I talk about this all the time, but it's really true. If you've had a baby, somewhere in the deep, dark, distant past, if you've had a baby, what you do is, after the baby is born, within a few days, you are outside with that baby because you can't stand being inside anymore. So there you are, you've got your baby in your front pack, and you're going to the store, you're going to restaurants or whatever. People walk around with week-old babies. What are they doing? They're socializing. They don't even know that they're socializing their baby, but they're socializing their baby. So if we started doing that kind of stuff with our puppies, not necessarily a week old, maybe it's 3 weeks old, when they start to really function as animals, they should get this kind of exposure. Carefully, under circumstances like in a stroller, hidden underneath it, or whatever. So, I'm going to show some of a video of some semi-feral puppies. These are puppies that they show both the instinctive and genetic behaviors and some socialization things. These dogs were brought in from outside in, I think, in Sonoma County or something, and they've been found. They were with a pretty feral mother. We never did find the mom. And so the puppies show a wide variety of behaviors based on their own individual temperaments. So it is kind of interesting.
Do you want me to hit the light screen?
Yeah, that'd be great.